That's just leftover hardware. It's been decommissioned. Thank you. Yeah.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're taking a look at 10 of the absolute worst games we've played in 2025 so far.
Well, I personally find it to be a blessing and honor to work in a team of 3.
Marvel's Spider-Man 2 PC version.
Still angry after all these years, Marco? You should try yoga!
With the amount of PC releases Sony has published so far, one would hope they've nailed how to properly port their games. To their credit, this time was not as bad as the port for The Last of Us Part 1, but even so, the state Marvel's Spider-Man 2 released in was totally unacceptable. Players reported frequent crashes and freezing, as well as inconsistent dips in frame rate. Couple that with cutscenes suffering from massive desyncing and freezing issues, and you have an outing for Spidey that isn't anywhere close to being spectacular. At the time of this video, some players have had smoother experiences, while others are just not so lucky. WWE 2K25.
This is Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Byron Saxton coming to you live, well, kind of.
For the most part, 2K25 kinda repeats a lot of what its predecessors did well and even enhances some of them with expanded mechanics and modes like My GM. However, the reason why WWE 2K is back on our stink list is because of the island. The island is the single worst part of this game, and it destroys everything about the series structure. Accessing certain game modes requires interacting with this awful aspect of the game, while many cosmetics that were available in previous games are now locked behind the island's own absurd requirements. Brings the player's time wrestling to a screeching halt and severely dampens 2K25 entirely. If this mode is to reappear in 2K26, we may see a new era of awful WWE games. And just when this IP managed to be redeemed.
Woods is just getting beaten down here. A soul-crushing onslaught.
Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. Nintendo was pretty adamant about not bundling this in with the Switch 2 for whatever reason. So much so that they demanded another $10 just for you to access this tech demo. What you get are some of the most mundane minigames you could possibly conceive to showcase the Switch 2. Really, we needed to charge people for cursor mazes, balloon popping, and quizzes? The sheer disappointment here made us deeply reminisce about Wii Sports, the game that managed to become a phenomenon in North America because it was bundled with the Wii, and it was a fun game that showed off the Wii's capabilities. Welcome Tour shows off the Switch 2's capabilities, yes, but come on. Where's the fun in playing something like, guess the frame rate? Deck of Haunts. It's a real shame to put an indie game on a list like this, especially one with a unique concept like Deck of Haunts. You take control of your very own haunted house and must either kill those who enter your domain or push them to the brink of insanity before they escape. Survive a full month to become the most dangerous haunted house to ever live. There's just one problem. The game is obscenely oppressive to the point where you're not likely to survive after the first week. Not only that, but the options you're given between new cards and new rooms to build are extremely limiting due to their high costs. This imbalance in difficulty makes Deck of Haunts much more frustrating and unenjoyable than we wish it was. And many other players have voiced the same complaint. Venus Vacation Prism Dead or Alive Extreme.
本当に？冗談って。
For many Dead or Alive fans, a dating sim spin-off sounds like an awesome idea for a series surrounded by hot men and women. But one would expect such a game to include, you know, characters from Dead or Alive? And that's what Venus Vacation Prism completely forgot to do. Sure, we have Hanukkah, but it's Hanukkah. She's the worst character in Dead or Alive ever. Then there's Tamaki, who appeared in Dead or Alive 6, yes, but she debuted in Dead or Alive Extreme Venus Vacation, so she doesn't exactly count. So what about the other 5? Well, as for those other 5 ladies that you can romance, none of them are the Dead or Alive ladies, and none of them are even remotely interesting. So when you don't have Kasumi, Ayane, Hitomi, Tina, Christy, Kokoro, Lei Fang, or Lisa, let alone any of the dudes, why exactly is this a Dead or Alive Extreme game?
私は何がしたくてこの島に来たんだろうってずっと考えてはいるんだけど。
Neptunia Riders vs. Doggoose. We don't mean to bash on 2 weeby games back to back, but Neptunia Riders vs. Doggoose could have been a somewhat interesting game. Drive and fight gooey dog-like creatures with a motorcycle? Sign us up! Cool concept, but such poor execution. Neptunia Riders doesn't do anything interesting with its idea for the entire 2 to 3 hour campaign. There's no personality in the animations, none in the mechanics, not even in the enemies themselves. On top of that, there's nothing else to do once you're finished with the game. It makes the $40 asking price feel like such a massive slap in the face. Spray Paint Simulator. Given the massive success Future Labs saw with Power Wash Simulator, one would expect a game like Spray Paint Simulator to study its competitor and try to at least match the quality. So, that means including a meaty campaign with fun replayable jobs, neat tools to make jobs easier or allow the player to be more efficient, intuitive controls, and a steady pace to properly get players going on their careers. Alas, no! It does none of that. Spray Paint Simulator is all over the place with pacing while offering up a significantly smaller campaign than its more renowned competitor. Honestly, the $15 isn't worth it. Just save up the $10 extra and get Power Wash Simulator. The base game alone is going to keep you busy and entertained for far longer than the 10-hour Spray Paint Simulator can. Glover Cubite Classics. After several decades, Glover makes his long-awaited return to consoles, and he's back in a far worse state than he's ever been in. Indeed, the original Glover was a bit wonky in its controls and physics, but it was a neat idea overall. The remaster that we received in 2025 was a technical nightmare. While PC players enjoyed a simple port in 2022, console players got to relive the N64 cult classic with severe optimization problems ranging from frame drops to insane amounts of screen tearing. The controls we can forgive, and the lack of neat trinkets like dev interviews or design documents can be overlooked. However, Pico Interactive has a lot of questions to answer for how this game launched. Captain Blood.
They've a wench on board. A noble woman. Bring me her alive, and I'll decide what to do with her later. Let the fish have rest.
The important thing to note about Captain Blood is that this game was cancelled not because of how the game was turning out, but because of legal issues when the original developer went bankrupt. Developers Seawolf Studio and General Arcade have revived the game and finally brought it across the finish line 22 years after it was initially conceived. And the game sucks. It just sucks. For as cool as it is to see this game finally come to fruition, Captain Blood wouldn't have even survived in the mid-2000s. The combat is just so bland with simplistic controls and utterly boring attacks, while the level design is just uninspired and totally lifeless. Really, only video game historians can truly find reasons to appreciate this game. And yet, had it not been for our final entry, maybe this would have been the worst game of the year, and not entirely a bad one.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications.
But our final game is Mind's Eye.
Jake? Yeah, man.
Damn, man. You made it.
Yeah.
From the moment it was announced, everything around Mind's Eye was just off. The closed preview event, the lack of review codes, the marketing's dependence on Leslie Benzie's status as a former producer for GTA, the weird remarks from co-CEO Mark Gerhard about how people who had negative opinions about the game, quote, were financed by somebody, end quote. Everything about Mind's Eye has just been super weird from the very beginning, and after playing it for ourselves, good lord, where do we start? The awful shadow quality and texture work, the finicky, dumb AI that decides when it wants to work correctly, which is rarely ever, the complete lack of challenge in combat, the mundane gameplay and gunplay that makes ammo a meaningless resource. Or how about this? How about the ridiculously random minigames like performing CPR in the middle of a fire? Or how about the presence of an open world that you're not even allowed to roam free in? Or how about the awful pathing and minimap that can easily result in you failing a mission for supposedly abandoning it? Why not tack on a mediocre story where dialogue makes no sense and provides no coherent flow and exposition as characters constantly talk in annoyingly vague terms? Not even hardcore GTA and Rockstar Games fans can stomach this one. No one. There's not a single positive thing I've heard about this game, and I have no positive things to say about this game personally. Well, that said, somebody reset the days since last massive flop counter, because we lasted almost 6 months this time. That's a new record, I'd say.
You alright?
Yeah.
Tell us, what's the worst game you've played this year so far? In case I didn't make it evident, Mind's Eye is horrible. But let us know what you think down in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to Watch Mojo for more great videos every day.